Hi guys, welcome back to Cindy's Cooking. I know it's been a minute, but I am getting back into on YouTube 2023. So let's get down to this amazing recipe. I posted this on my Instagram and it got almost a million views and everybody keep asking me for the recipe. So I did my best and I'm going to show you how I make this a little bit better. Follow along, hopefully it's easy. So I am using conch, totally optional, oxtail and beef neck bone to make this stew. You can use just regular meats if you want. I prefer bone because it has better taste. So I go ahead and clean my meat with lime, vinegar. That's what I had on hand. A lot of people say don't wash conch with lime because it makes it chewy, rubbery, hard. It's totally not true. It's one of those Haitian thing, and people really take it so serious. Anyways, I've washed it and then now I'm gonna saute my meat, removing the impurities with the hot water, and also that helps it get a little bit tender. But make sure to remove the conch because I don't know that you can saute conch with hot water, so remove it and just do it for the meat. So like I said, I'm using oxtail and beef neck bone, totally optional. You could just use the regular meat. The oxtail take a little bit longer to cook. So after I've washed my meat, and I'm gonna go ahead and season. I am using Epis, of course, and be sure to order some Epis from me. My Etsy store will be up soon. Stay on the lookout. I will definitely post it and let you guys know. So for the marinating, I'm using bitter orange juice from a bottle. So hopefully that helps. It's not lime juice, so the Instagram, the TikTok police don't come arrest me. And of course I am using Mojo marinade, and I've told you guys about this. Listen, you need to upgrade your meat and use that. It just makes it so much better. So I'm using paprika and the Badia marinade, some chicken bouillon, black pepper, oregano. Is it oregano or original? I don't know, but I think oregano. I think it's oregano. Anyway, that's what I've been saying for the longest time. A little bit of salt, some sazon, or you could use Goya. I like sazon. I love the color it gives it, and also gives it really good flavor. And of course, a little bit of seafood seasoning because we have the conch, and I'm also using crab, blue crab. So we're gonna marinate this overnight. After you add all your seasoning, use whatever seasoning that you like, and this is what I have at home and this is what I like, so this is what I'm using, but be sure to adjust it. And some olive oil for marinating. So I'm gonna cook them together because the oxtail take a little bit longer to cook than the conch. So halfway, into the cooking process, I will remove the conch and let the oxtail finish its cooking, and the beef neck bone also take a little bit longer to cook. So like I said, I marinate mine overnight. If you don't have that much time, I'm guessing 4 hours is enough for marinating, and sometimes you don't have to leave it that long if you don't have the time. It's a lot better when you let your meat marinate at least 24 hours overnight. So what I did was, I forgot to record that, I steamed it for a little bit. I just add some oil in my pot and I added the beef and I let it steam for like 10 minutes on low heat. And now I'm adding my conch and we're gonna let it steam again for longer, and we're not adding water. So we're doing all that on medium low heat, not high heat, because you don't want to burn it. And I find that using a Dutch oven like this really helps in the cooking process. If you don't have what do you call those things, I wish I do have one. The name is just in the tip of my tongue, but it's not coming out. Oh my gosh. All right, let me go check the name. Like I was saying, if you don't have a pressure cooker, I think that having a Dutch oven is a great investment. They are a little bit expensive, but they're amazing. So I added some bay leaves and hot pepper, and of course clove. The hot pepper is optional. If you don't like spicy, don't do it. So now let's prepare our beans to start cooking. So we're gonna start cooking the beans and the meat at the same time because they both take the same amount of time to cook. So I am using black beans. If you don't have black beans, white beans are also my favorite. So over there I added a cup and a half of black beans and 10 cups of water, and I added a scallion, 3 garlic cloves, and some oil, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. This will take about an hour and a half or so to cook. So like I said, I've added 10 cups of water. Once the water is finished, and I'm gonna add more water until it's cooked thoroughly. So let's check the meat again. So it's been about 30 minutes since the meat has been steaming on low heat. You see the heat is low and it looks like it's burning, and it's not high, it's on medium high, not all the way high, like, you know, a little bit between high and low. So that's medium. So go ahead, give it a stir. I am using, I now, like I said, it's been about 30 to 45 minutes, and I'm gonna remove the conch because, like I said, I will put it back again so it can finish off the cooking. So I removed the conch, and now I'm gonna add water because the oxtail takes nearly 2 hours to cook. And like I said, the Dutch oven really helps, and I think you should get one. Definitely get one. Anyway, so I removed the conch and I'm gonna add more water, about 2 cups of water, and we're gonna let it boil. And 2 cups of water is enough for it to finish cooking. Cover and let it finish cooking, and let's go back to the beans and check it. It's a lot of work, okay? It's a lot of work. So we're checking the beans, and the beans need about 20 more minutes to finish up. So see it, I'm gonna remove some because I like my sauce pois with a little bit of beans. Now, I don't like to blend all of it. I like to, you know, chew the beans, you know. I don't know, it's just different. Not everybody do that, but most people actually do it. So remove some beans, a little bit, you know, whatever amount you like, not too many, just a little bit, you know. So I added more water, and we're gonna let it finish cooking. So for this bean soup, I am using coconut milk. I am adding coconut milk to it, and I am of course using fresh coconut. Whenever I can find the ingredient fresh, I will always use it whenever I have the access to it. But if you don't have access to fresh coconut, use the canned one. It's also great. Or you can use the cream coconut, not cream of coconut. Be careful, because someone made that mistake and I thought that was so funny. But yeah, not the sweet one. But like I said, the fresh one tastes so much better. I love the flavor, and yeah, it's fresh. Of course it's better. So I blended it and get the milk out of it, and yeah, that's it. So now let's start making the rice. So the rice is so simple, and you know, all of these dish, each of this dish has a one video on my YouTube. So there's a recipe for the rice, white rice itself, and for sauce bean itself, and for stew itself, but I'm showing you how I make everything together. So what I did for the rice, in my hot pan I added some vegetable oil, I fried some garlic, some onion and scallion. Those gives your rice good flavor. And then add water, salt, let it come to a boil, and once it boils, you go ahead and add your white rice. I'm using white jasmine rice. Be sure to rinse it if that's what you do. Rinse it, and if you don't, then do you, boo. Of course I added some bay leaves. I love bay leaves in rice. It's just, listen, rice like this is so good. So once the water is boiled, we're gonna go ahead and add the rice. So I didn't measure, I used my eyes. Here's a tip when you're cooking rice. When you're cooking rice, if the rice is above the water, it's going to be very grainy. It won't be mushy. But if it's submerged, if it's below, after you added the rice, if it stays below the water, then the chances are it's probably going to be a little bit mushy. You see how the texture is, the consistency? That's how you get it when the rice is like way above the water. When you're adding it, it looks like it's not going to cook, but it's going. So the ratio of rice is, you know, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. So what I did is, instead of 2 cups of water, I add 1.5 cups. I add less water. So our rice is done. Let's prepare the okra. So I'm using fresh okra. If you don't have fresh, the frozen one also works. It's still okra, but I like fresh stuff. So go ahead and cut the tips, the head and the tail. You absolutely do not have to do that, but it's just something I grown up with normally do. But now it's like there's really no point of it. Removing it and not moving it doesn't make a big difference. It just makes it look better, honestly. That's it. Really, that's the only thing. So I'm checking in my meat, and it's almost done. It's still cooking. The water is not dried up all the way yet, and we want the water to be dried up all the way. So cover it and let it finish cooking. So let's finish making the sauce pois. So the beans are done. They're very soft. They need to be really soft so you can just blend it, right? So the beans are done. We're gonna go ahead and blend everything, and we're using the water from the beans. You see how I will not be using extra water? So when you're cooking your beans, be sure to always have water remaining from the beans, liquids from the beans cooked, so it's not all the way dried up, because you need the liquids to blend it, and you don't want to add too much of, you know, regular water. Having the excess water from the cooking is way better. So use a strainer. If you're using a really good blender like Vitamix, you won't need a strainer, but I'm using my Ninja. But this is a Ninja I've had since 2017. Listen, this blender has been through it, and it's still doing its thing. So Ninja, this one here, wow. Anyway, so I added my I finished blending, and I used a strainer to get rid of the pulp. So now I'm gonna season my soup. I am seasoning it with fresh herbs, of course, parsley, thyme, fresh thyme, of course, fresh, and some red bell pepper for extra flavor, some all-purpose chicken seasoning. You of course gonna need a little bit more olive oil. Use whatever seasoning that you have. If you don't have a lot, if you don't have the one that I'm using, use whatever that you have, you know. Some chicken bouillon, and of course the coconut milk. You see it, listen, I'm telling you, use it. It makes a big difference. And of course some lily butter I got from Florida. I went to Florida last week, and I got some lily butter because you can't find this here in this state, honestly. That's one of the things I hate about this state. Anyways, so you see I added my beans that I removed earlier. So I added it to it. So now we're gonna let this come to a boil, and it should be ready in about 10 to 15 minutes, not too long. It's already cooked. You just want it to be thickened up. So right now it's not as thick, and if you want it to be thick, if you added too much water, what you can do is use a little bit of cornstarch or potato starch, or even flour. If you don't have cornstarch, I almost said anyways, if you don't have cornstarch or potato starch, you can use regular flour. Add a tablespoon of flour or 3 teaspoons of flour and a little bit of water, mix it, and stir it in there, and boom, it thickens up. So after the boiling, mine thickens up. If you don't have, like I said, if it's not thickened up, use those things I just mentioned. Anyway, our bean soup is ready, so now let's finish these two. So what I did is I added my tomato paste, because I'm using tomato paste to give it some really nice, beautiful red color, because we're making sauce. So if you're making Haitian sauce, we need tomato paste because we want that beautiful color. Not all Haitian dishes we use tomato paste. I personally like using tomato paste. I really love the color I give it, and I also like the taste. To give it that, you know, that acidity taste a little bit. Anyways, so yeah, so what I did is I kept stirring until my tomato paste started to dissolve, and I'm gonna add a little bit of water, because we don't want any clumps of tomato paste at all. We want it to be all dissolved. And once you get all the tomato paste gone, now we're gonna go ahead and add another 2 cups of water. And I suggest that you use warm water. Don't use, you know, cold water like that. It's not really good to be cooking with cold water, cold water, like, you know, pouring cold water in something that was boiling, you know, science. But so yeah, use warm water. So now what I did is I added my conch, and I'm also gonna add my crab, my blue crab. And for the blue crab, I simply washed it with vinegar and lime. I rubbed the lime all over it, and then I rinsed it, and I added a little epis. I didn't do too much, and I removed that little thing. I should have showed you guys. Yeah, I removed the eye and the little thing, and that's it. But I do have a video on there that shows you how to clean the crab, so feel free to watch those videos. I will link them in the description box below, the recipe for my epis and the rice, everything. So be sure to check out the links in the description box below. So we added the crab, and we're gonna add the okra. And once you add the okra, you're gonna cover it and let it steam for 10 to 15 minutes uncovered. Do not uncover it. So I added my thyme, my fresh parsley, and the red bell pepper, of course, for extra flavors. So yeah, like I said, once you put your okra in, cover it in some butter. Cover it and do not uncover, because if you do keep checking it, it's going to prevent the okra from cooking, and it's gonna be, the texture is gonna be different. It's gonna change the texture. It's gonna be like hard. It's gonna be like chewy, but not in a good way. And okra is supposed to be slimy. If it's cooked properly, it will be soft and slimy, just how I like it. I added a little bit more seasoning because I tasted it and I felt like a little bit more, you know, zest. So I added a little bit more. So yeah, so here it is after that time steaming for that long, and cook it on medium low heat, not too high, because you know the Dutch oven is holds heat pretty well and distribute it pretty well. So this is it after the time. This is it. And when you're stirring it, we obviously can't stir anymore unless you want the okra. If you're making gumbo, it will be fine to stir it, but if you're not making okra, you're making the stew, the sauce, so you don't want the okra to break, so we're just shaking it. That's the way to kind of like stir it. You don't, you know, stir it with a spoon because you're gonna break all the okra. So just shake your pot, shake it, shake it, shake it, bum bum, shake a, shake a bum, and then yeah, so that's it. This is it. It's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time, and I really hope this is an easy to follow recipe. I hope that you can follow it, and I hope that you give this dish a try. It's a lot. I hope I did really good. Tried my best, and this is the dish, you guys. It's really good, and yeah, give it a try. Thank you for watching. Bye. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and of course subscribe and turn on your notification bell button. Thank you for watching.